it's a narrative that's been going around for a while now, man, where people try to make it seem like Tupac, he didn't start wilding out until he joined Death Row. And you have some people saying that Tupac, he didn't start acting wild until he played the role Bishop in the movie Juice. But you knew Tupac before Death Row and before Juice.
Yeah.
So tell me some stories where Tupac was wilding out before Death Row.
Let me tell you something. Juice. The interesting thing about Pac was he had an inbred warrior in him, right? And if you saw him, you saw his stature, small frame. He was one of them like real strong little niggas in the hood. You think, oh, that kid's skinny, I could take him. And get fucked up, yeah, he was that type. You know what I'm saying? And I think that was one of the things. Because when I was young, I was skinny, but I'd give it to niggas. So the point was, Pac was that way. He was very, very intelligent, highly intelligent, but extremely sensitive. Conscious. Wanted everybody to win. Loved our people. He loved people in general, but black people because of the struggle and the plight that we've been through. And he was very aware because he was taught from young. He just was like, I'm on a mission. I got to wake motherfuckers up. Like, he was really that type conscious. But then adapt to the street very well. Because people don't know, like, he was there. So he'd be quick. That's why you think he could play those roles so well? That shit was in him. So people, it's a funny thing, man. But nah, it wasn't like that. He'd be on some wild shit. When you push that button, then that warrior come out. And that's what a lot of people saw. They saw the warrior, but they didn't know the moments of betrayal. They didn't know the full backstory, all the shit he had gone through. And so my nigga, he would snap off. He snap off crazy. Tell you a funny one. First of all, as time went on, we would just meet in just where we never expect to run into each other at. Right? And he had that camaraderie spirit. Pac was also, it's a certain type in the hood when we all grew up where, and Pac grew up in the Bronx too. Motherfuckers don't even understand that. They don't even realize that. And the thing is, when you grow up and you're conscious and you're being taught things, I think everybody kind of shares a similar fiber where you don't like bullies. You don't like bullies because you get a chance to recognize the stronger and the weaker, and you see it. And when you're intelligent, you want to protect motherfuckers and be like, what? Who did that to you? So Pac was one of them type motherfuckers. He's fucking this tall, but he'll run up against the biggest of them. And so, but he had that type of thing. Like, it was so funny. Every time I would see him, he'd be like, you good? He was the first person to call me OG. So he was like, yo, you good, OG? He kept saying that, OG, OG. And I was like, fuck is an OG? And he was like, original gangster, nigga. And I was like, hey, I like that. You know what I'm saying? But we were running into each other like haphazardly. And one time in particular, when I came out here, I love Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. I just love that shit. I could eat that shit every day. And he knew that, and that was my spot. That was his spot. So one day, we were headed to KMEL. It's in San Francisco. It's a power station. And they were like, yo, we got a big concert out there. And, we want to rock with y'all. So it was like, we were running around, we were recording, we were doing promo tour. We was just, just move. We was on Liddy or whatever. So I was like, fuck that, let's go to Roscoe's before we head out to the Bay Area or whatever. So we go up in Roscoe's. Who's sitting in Roscoe? Pac. We like, yo, what up, nigga? We bugging out. And so, all right, we doing our thing. And he was like, where you headed? He said, where y'all going? I said, well, we going to San Francisco. He said, oh, shit, I was getting ready to go to Oakland. I said, word. So he had a couple of his boys with him and all of that. And, so he had a couple of his boys with him, and he was like, yeah, we getting ready to go to Oakland. Y'all going to San Francisco? What's going on in San Francisco? I said, we got this big-ass shit and do-do-do-do-do-do. He was like, fuck it. I'll roll with y'all. So he was like, bet. So he jumped in the whip. So they got a truck. They had a truck. We jump in the whip, and he jumped in with us. So we drove for a little, like a couple of miles, and then he was like, when we got to a gas station, he was like, hold on, matter of fact, damn, I forgot. Let me get in the car with them. Because he knew it was guns in the car. He was like, nah. Because originally he was the designated driver. But we start bugging out, he jumping with us. So then by the time we pull over and it hits him like, oh shit, there's guns in them. Nah, I'll take that responsibility. So he was like, but he tells me later. He ain't tell me, yo, nigga, I had fucking guns in the back. Nigga, I had to take the wheel. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, so now he takes the wheel. They're following us. Nigga. Halfway to San Francisco. I don't know. I think maybe it had to be probably the weed because niggas was blazing. They was acting like weed was legal back then. I don't know what made the cops pull them over. So we driving. And then we see the sirens and shit coming behind us and all that. And I was like, oh, what the fuck? And so we could see out the rear view that they was pulling Pac over. So now imagine, we're in the car with Def Jam representatives and shit. Because, I mean, it's still a business. I was like, yo, pull over. So we pull over. The first initial, naturally, we just pull over. And then we waiting. And then, you know, Greg, at times, he would remind me of certain business, whatever, demeanor. Like, yo, Smooth, now we got to go, man, because we got to get there. We still got to do our shit. And, you know, I was in my bag, you know what I'm saying? This is young Smooth. I'm in my 20s, you know what I mean? I was like, man, fuck that, man. We waiting to make sure these niggas is straight, man. We ain't leaving them on no fucking highway. So it was like, all right. I'm like, man, fuck that shit. So we just waited, you know, we waited. And then the shit smoothed over. And the next thing they let them go. So now we headed to San Francisco. Thinking we get to San Francisco, we find out everybody is on the bill. Too Short, Hammer, you name it. Naughty by Nature, Queen Latifah. Nigga, we was like, what? I think it was Rodney O and Joe Cooley. Like, they had so many eras of hip-hop, and we were fucking bugged. And we bugged out. And it was in a spot, I can't remember exactly where it was, but it was like a fucking arena. It was like 35,000 people. Bananas. So now, we up in there, we seeing everybody. We back by the trailers. Then once we seen Naughty and we saw Treach. Them two, Now they bugging out. Treach, I love that motherfucker. He used to walk around with a fucking, now that, you know, these niggas see the big ass chain that motherfuckers be having they pit bulls and rots and shit on. He used to wear this big ass dog, like a dog chain with a giant lock on it. And he used to walk around. What did he call? It was Alibaba. I think he called his knife Alibaba. If he see this, he gonna laugh. He did call his knife Alibaba. The nigga had a knife, like a machete in a leather case. He would never pull it out of the leather case. He have it in this thick-ass leather case, and he'd just be walking around with it. I think he on one of his covers with it. And Alibaba, he used to smack niggas with that. I used to be like, this little nigga is wild. So we up in there. We in our trailer. We leave. Pac, once he ran in the trench, they running there. All right, niggas, do your shit. So we in there. We getting the shit together. We figuring out little sound checks if they gonna give us a little opportunity to do that. And we chilling. Next thing you know, it's like a herd of elephants. Right. So we like, what the fuck is going on? I don't know what the fuck happened. We came out. And then somebody was running past our trailer, and he was like, Pac and Treach fighting some niggas. Like that. And I was like, oh, what? So, like, you know, that's that bullshit. You know, I ain't no Tommy tough guy, but I'll jump in anything if it's my niggas. It just reacts. So I was like, yo, hold up. So Greg grabbed me again. Yo, Smooth. Fuck you doing? I was like, yeah, you right. And I look, and I see people running. So I'm still standing in the doorway of the trailer. And then I just see Pac and Treach just walking. I was like, yo, these niggas is crazy. I don't know the ramifications of the fight. All I know is motherfuckers clearing shit out as usual. But when they got together, that was some tag team, Roddy Piper. They used to, yeah, it's my dudes.
Yeah, man, that's wild, man. So what was the outcome of that fight, yo? Who won?
Who the fuck knows? I didn't even know who they was fighting. All I saw a couple of cats leaking. I was like, oh. I didn't know the origin of it. All I know is that while we were there, Pac and Treach wasn't bruised. So I was like, yo, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what started it. I never got that rundown, but all I know is fucking fight jumped off at that KMEL shit, though. Yeah.
That's wild, man. I never heard that story before. And it's another incident you spoke about before, about Tupac and Treach getting into an incident with some Crips.
Yeah. That was up in the Comedy Store in Hollywood. So I remember that day. That day was off and on vivid. Boy, back then, boy, we used to be blazing so much. But shit was cool in the gang. We was cooling. And somebody, one of my road manager at the time had asked me about going to the Comedy Store. So I wasn't really up on, like back then when you went to a comedy show in the 90s, especially in California, if you was going to the Comedy Store, that shit was like a club. So I'm used to, in my mind, they going, yo, you going to the Comedy Store? I'm like, that's cool. I don't really feel like fucking with no comedians and no jokes. I didn't really know. And when you went to the Comedy Store back then in the 90s, yeah, it was comedians, all the up-and-coming cats, all the niggas we see today, Kevin Hart's and all of that, they would be coming through there, Chris Rocks and all of them. Shit, Richard Pryor, once I got wind of it, Richard Pryor started, part of his early career was in the Comedy Store. So anyway, I'm sleeping, I don't know. Niggas like, right, so my road man was like, yo, boom, 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 let's go to that shit. So boom, boom, boom. So then, as the day progresses, Pac give me a call. He like, yo, my nigga, you wanna come to the Comedy Store tonight? And I was like, why niggas keep telling me about this Comedy Store? Oh no, nigga, it's like a party, nigga. It's like a club. It's gonna be bad bitches in there, nigga. I was like, oh, word? I think I will be going to the Comedy Store. All right, fine. And it was also my man, Teddy Blinn. Yeah, shout out to Teddy Blinn. Peace and blessed be upon him. He rest in peace. But it was one of my background singers, and he was one pumping me like, come on, we gotta go. So we go. So we get there, blah, blah, blah. We get up in there. As we walking, I think it was Ted that spotted him. He said, yo, man, they go Pop. Oh, yeah, him and Treach. So they were close towards the bar. So the spot was packed. We start walking through that motherfucker. Homie. Next thing you know, it's like shit start moving in slow motion as I'm walking. I'm seeing them interacting. They talking with people. And as we getting closer, I see like escalation, like in the movement. Like, yo, what, nigga, what? And I'm like, oh, wait. My niggas look like they getting made a... And boy, these niggas got to start fighting. Boop, boop, bop, boop, 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 bop. And this nigga Treach takes this motherfucking chain off his neck and starts smacking these niggas with that lock. Bow, bow, bow. I'm like, oh! So I'm like, yo, I'm trying to get through the crowd. Like, what the fuck? And again, Teddy Blinn grabs me. Smooth, what the fuck is you doing? I said, yo, my niggas. He was like, Smooth, be easy. Let's get over there, but you ain't jumping in this shit. And I was just like, man, what the fuck you mean? You know, I went through my bag. We get over to them. So he said, look, no. And this was funny. He said, look, no, them niggas is handling theyself. He was like, them niggas is handling theyself. By the time I looked again, this nigga Pac had a stool in his hand, smacking niggas with the stool. Bang, bang, bang. He wilding. And Treach is giving it to niggas. Bop, with that lock. Boom, 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 boom. I was like, whoa, look at them go. We get over near them, and the nigga Treach, Pac goes, so it was some girls. This is the funny shit. By the time I get close enough to them, there was some girls I get, because, you know, niggas was magnets. So chicks would always come into that cypher. They fighting, boo, 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 right? So when we walk, as I walk up, it done cleared out. Niggas done moved out, cleared out. So it was just him. I said, yo, my nigga, you good? He was like, yeah. What up, nigga? And he give me a pound. Pac gives me a pound. And the Treach was like, what up, nigga? I was like, y'all niggas is wow. And he was like, come on. So Treach goes, come on, let's get the fuck out of here, like that. And then Pac turned around. He goes, no, hold up, Smooth. Get the bitches. Yo, I said, this nigga turned around to me. He said, no, Smooth, because it was a crew of girls. They was looking nervous, but they ain't run. And he was like, oh, wait, no, hold up, Smooth. Get the bitches. I said, oh, okay, Pat. Hey, ladies. And, you know, it was just, yeah. Yeah. Man, we used to have some times, B.